I am in the kitchen today. I'm going to be canning some chicken. I bought three 10-pound bags of chicken on sale for a really good price, but they're frozen together, so we can't just grab some chicken out and cook it for a meal. So I decided to take two of the bags, cook them, and can them and make chicken stock at the same time. I don't have all of the ingredients I would usually use in a chicken stock. I don't have any carrots or onions or fresh celery or anything, but I do have a bunch of herbs in my pantry, so I'm just gonna go that way about doing it. I need to make room in my freezer, and we want chicken on our shelves to have during the summer. This is the chicken, nothing fancy. It was just something the store had on sale, so I bought it. It's not organic. It's, like I said, nothing fancy. We've had it in the fridge, like the frosting, for like a week, and it's still pretty frozen. We did get into this bag and have a couple of meals while we had it out of the freezer. I have all of my herbs out that I'm going to be using, in addition to like salt, pepper, and garlic powder. I have nasturtium. I grew this and dried it last year. I like to add it to my stocks because it's full of vitamin C. And this is all that I have left. But I do have some growing, so I plan on stocking up a lot more this year. I have lime leaves and lemon leaves. These are from our trees that we have. We are in zone 5B, so we keep our citrus trees in the house under grow lights in the wintertime. I have sage that I grew. We have a really old bag of celery that needs to be used. This was in the freezer. We have a ton of celery leaves that I'm going to add. We grew these also. I have some onion peels in the bottom of a bag. I'm going to use those too. And then I went digging through my freezer looking for stuff, and I pulled out more stuff that was saved and labeled chicken stock. So we have like a whole carcass. This was actually from one of our roosters. He was becoming very aggressive towards us, and we just can't allow that, so we decided to put him in the freezer, and he was delicious. We have his feet. I've never made stock with chicken feet in them before, and it actually, I'm not really looking forward to this. They've been cleaned, and all the steps have been done. You have to like peel the skin off them and different stuff, so they're ready to go. I've heard good things about it. We're gonna try it because we have it. So I'm just gonna take my chicken and place it in my pressure canner. I'm gonna cook in this. I'll probably bring it up to pressure and just like set a 10-minute timer, and then pull stuff out after that. Like let it come down from pressure and then pull the stuff out. I do have laundry going, so if you can hear that in the background, I'm sorry. But nothing fancy. I'm just gonna throw the chicken in, and then I'll season it and add water. I'm not gonna measure anything as I go. I'm just gonna kind of pour it in and hope for the best. This is salt. A lot of the stuff that I buy in bulk, it's just easier to keep in jars because I have a lot of jars. I'm gonna do some garlic. I am running low on garlic, so I'm not gonna put as much in here as I probably normally would. I'm gonna do some pepper. Just gonna add all of this celery. This is the last of my sage too. I'm just gonna, well, I'm gonna save some for the chicken stock that I'm gonna make in a different container. But that is the last of my sage, and I do have more of that growing too. I'm gonna do some lime leaves. Those were lemon leaves. And a good amount of celery leaves. And then I'm just gonna add water. Maybe a gallon. We'll start with a gallon, see how that gets us. and then go from there. I ended up doing 1.25 gallons, and then I threw the onion peels in there that I forgot about. But the water level's like here. This is like the max fill line that you can fill it. So it's pretty full. And I'm gonna get this lidded up and turned on. While my chicken is cooking in my pressure canner, I'm gonna get the Instant Pot going, and I'm gonna make my chicken broth in that. I'm just gonna open all these bags of stuff that I found in the freezer. This is a chicken feet. I'm not excited about this. Whatever, here we go. And this is raw chicken. Make sure you're washing your hands and your surfaces as you go so you don't get sick. This is some chicken fat we have. This is still pretty frozen, but as long as it fits in here, it should be okay. If I can get it out of the bag. I'm actually going to take some hot water and swish it around in this bag and try to get a little bit more of the fat out of it. And I'm going to be seasoning this basically the same way I did the chicken that's cooking right now. The only exception is I'm going to put all of the nasturtium that I had in here. If I would have had more, I would have done it in both. You can tell it's getting towards the end of the season. I'm starting to run out of all of my herbs and stuff, and thankfully the garden is growing. All of this is going to be strained, so it doesn't really matter about like the seasonings. For the water in this, I'm probably just going to fill it up to the max fill line. So I think I actually am going to fill it to the half full line, not the max full. I don't want this stuff to be too watery. That's why I'm not just filling the entire pan with water. I want there to still be a lot of chicken flavor and collagen from the chicken in them. I'm just going to set this for an hour and let it do its thing. There is steam coming out on the back of my pressure canner. It's not reaching temp. It's been this way for like 20 minutes now. It is not going to be safe to cannon. I'm going to have to get a new seal and then get it tested. But I'm going to continue to cook the chicken in this pot anyways. This is what our broth looks like currently. This is the one that was cooked in the Instant Pot for an hour, and it was the stuff that came out of my freezer. We are just going to strain the broth into a pot. I'm going to be storing it in the fridge, so I want to just store it right into a pot so it's easier for me to heat up when I'm done. I have that glass pan there for the bones, any of the herbs, any of that stuff. And I just have a little mesh strainer. Alright, I'm just gonna have to do it the way that I want to do it and not the way that's best for the camera. This stuff is really hot, so you want to make sure you're protecting your counter. This is what our broth looks like. It looks amazing. It's nice and bubbly. It's got lots of fat on it. I don't scrape the fat off. I just can it with all the fat on there. And then it usually just cooks back down when you heat it up anyways. The chicken is done. This is what it looks like in the pressure canner. And I pulled a piece out. I'm just gonna pull all the chicken out into this pan, shred them into a bowl with a lid because I'm gonna be putting them in the fridge now, and then just put my leftover bones in that bowl. I did let this cool down a little bit. I'm also gonna be straining this stock in this pan. And this is probably what I'm going to be packing in the jars when I can the chicken, because it's going to have a liquid. And I would rather just use chicken stock as opposed to water. This is still really hot. I'm just putting the skin and the herbs and the bones in that one over there. We've been using our canned chicken in casserole dishes with noodles or chicken and rice noodles, tacos. I haven't tried chicken salad yet, like with mayo and onions and stuff. That is something that I would like to do this summer when it's hot. But this is not my first time canning chicken and putting it on my pantry shelf. And this does get really messy. I'm going to strain this. And it is really hot still. So that's what the broth looks like. Looks pretty good. I haven't tasted it yet. We'll see how it tastes. But this should be more than enough to can all of this chicken and do a few jars of this broth. This is the amount of chicken we got. I'm not sure how big this bowl is, how many cups. I guess we'll find out when we go to can. It is quite a bit of chicken. I always wish there was more, but I am happy this will be enough jars to put on the shelf for a while and not have to do it again. This is what the broth looks like after being in the fridge for a few days. You can poke it. Some people scrape all of this fat off. I just leave it on, but I'm going to heat this up nice and low for a little bit and get it warmed up so everything gets re-liquefied. This is looking like the right consistency that I want. I'm going to start with everything cold today, so I don't want to heat this up too much. I just wanted to get it warm enough so I could pour it. I washed 10 wide mouth jars in 10 small mouth jars. These are all pint jars. The reason why I washed two different kinds of jars is because I like canning meat in wide mouth jars. Meat is hard to clean out of a jar, and if you do it in a small mouth jar, it's really hard to clean out of a jar. And then the small mouth jars I can use for like the stock because that's not hard to clean out. This is the chicken that I cooked the other day. It's been about 2 days since I started this video because of my pressure canner. So normally I wouldn't refrigerate this. I would just do the whole process start to finish and be done with it. But I really didn't have a choice. So I'm not going to add any seasonings to the jars. No salt, no pepper, no anything, because this meat is already cooked. If it was a raw pack, I would add seasoning. But since I've already cooked it, it doesn't need any seasoning. You can use a funnel if you want. I'm going to try to not use a funnel. Less dishes. And I'm just going to pack the meat in as tight as I can get it. Then I'm going to fill all the jars with meat. And then I'm going to come through and put the chicken stock in the jar. Definitely pick out all the bones. Pint jars is really good for us. There's only 2 of us here, so if we do quart jars, it tends to be too much at a time. There's not that much left in this bowl, so I'm not even going to bother putting it in a jar. I think we'll add it to dinner or do something with it instead of canning it. I have 8 jars of chicken. I'm pretty happy with that. I was hoping closer to 10, but 8 is not a bad number. It will definitely come in handy on nights that we don't want to pull out chicken, thaw it, and then cook it. So ready to go on the shelf. So I have my chicken stock. I'm just going to give it a good stir, make sure it's all mixed up. I'm just going to pour it in the jars. We'll see. This is probably going to be messy. I have my jar lifter. I'm going to use it to get the bubbles out and make sure I have a lot of chicken stock in each jar. And it takes a while. I usually fill a couple jars and then come back to it. That way it has time to settle. So it looks like this right now. The sun's shining through my window, so it's definitely affecting the quality of the camera, not the food. And then I'm just gonna take my jar lifter, just kind of press the sides around, make sure I get all of the bubbles out. And then if I have room for more liquid, I can add it on top. I think this one looks pretty good. And then I'm just gonna do all the jars just like that. I have all of my jars filled. I'm gonna just dip the hot water with vinegar that my lids were cooking in, heating up in, and just wipe all of the rims. This is hot. This is to make sure the lids stick better. It cleans it off, makes sure there's no gaps or any grease to prohibit those from sticking. And I know I don't have to heat up my lids anymore. That's what they say, FDA, Ball, whoever makes the rules. I still like to heat up my lids. I feel like it makes this part more sticky. I don't know. Could be just me, but that's what I like to do. And then it gives me the hot water to wipe the rims also. Just gonna put all of my lids on. And then you just want your rings fingertip tight. They don't have to be super tight. You don't have to pull on them so they don't move anymore. I just put them on like that. I have all of my jars of chicken in the canner that took up the whole first layer. So now I'm gonna add another layer of broth. And I'm just gonna fill these jars up. Looks pretty good. And then same thing, I'm just gonna wipe the tops with hot water and vinegar, put the lids on, and put the rings on. This is another stock that I had. I made it the same day, but I just had it in the fridge. I did start heating it up, but you can see how gelatinous it is. So it looks delicious. I have my canner loaded. It's got a rack in there. There's 2 layers, and I have 3 quarts of water in there. But before I can, I need to change out the seal in my lid. I have never done this before. I've had this pressure canner for 5 years now. Actually, like 5.5 years. And it's always worked really fine. but when I was using it the other day, I noticed there was steam coming out of the back and it shouldn't have been. So I went to my local Amish store and got this little kit to fix it. It comes with the ring and a pressure plug. I'm not sure if I'm gonna change my pressure plug today. I don't wanna break anything, and I really wanna can all this stuff up that I have. So I think I'm just gonna change the ring for now, and then we'll worry about doing the plug on a different day when I'm not in the middle of canning. Oh, fuck. Just gonna give it a quick wash, especially because it just fell on the floor. It just looks like this. It has little grooves in it. So here's my old one. I'm not really seeing any damage. So I don't know, hopefully this was the problem. Break my gauge. Alright, it's in there. I'll give it a try. I'm just gonna put this on and let it vent out for 10 minutes. Once it starts venting, as always, check and make sure all of your levers work, everything moves. This is the plug that it came with to change. Like I said, I'm just gonna leave that in there for now. Look through here. Make sure you can see through it. I do that every single time. So it's on, we'll see how it goes. That new seal actually fit in there really snugly when I was trying to put my lid on, so hopefully it comes up to pressure and hopefully everything's okay. I did have to go change my shirt because I spilled chicken stock all over myself. I'm just a messy person and very clumsy. So I did change my shirt. It is the same day that I was filming just a little bit ago. And the dogs love it when I'm canning meat because whenever I drop anything or spill anything, they definitely take advantage and clean the floor for me. After filling up all the jars of chicken and filling up the rest of the jars with just stock and filling a canner full, I still have this much stock left over. So I'm gonna wash some quart-sized jars and do a batch with that. We're gonna be doing some of the broth in quart-sized jars. I know I talked about pint-sized jars being better for us for only 2 people, but sometimes when we make soup, we need a quart-sized jar, sometimes even 2 quart-sized jars. So just having different amounts on the shelf make it easier also. This is in my pantry. This is not all of the stock that I have canned, but it is all of the meat that I have canned. I have beef, 1 can of chicken, and then that is all turkey. And this is different kinds of stocks. So hopefully I'm not going to have to can any meat or stock for a while now. Alright, we have been venting for 10 minutes, so now I'm going to put the weight on. And hopefully we have no problems coming to pressure. There's no steam coming out of the back of the canner. Everything is looking how it should. We have pressure. Everything is looking great. I'm gonna let this get up to 11 pounds and then I'm gonna can it for 75 minutes. It is the next day. I finished processing this really late last night. I didn't even take them out of the canner until this morning. I just turned it off and went to bed. This is what we ended up with. We have 8 jars of the chicken. Then we have 11 pints of the stock and then 4 quarts. We used to have another dog who passed away in February, and when she, like the last month, we were softening her dog food with chicken broth or turkey broth or whatever kind of stock I had on hand. And then when our small brown dog named Squirrel was waiting to get into the vet because she was having tooth problems, we were softening her dog food with the broth also. So it's nice to have on hand for other things than just like soup or cooking with. You never know when you're gonna need it for other things. Overall, I'm happy with the amount of stock and chicken that we got. I hope I have room for this in my pantry. I think I'm gonna have to go in there and reorganize some stuff. But that's gonna be it for this video. See you guys later.